What does that say? That says medical science is at a certain point, but medical science is looking at physical. They aren't looking at the other elements. And so I sat him down, and this was the head of research at Mayo. Big mucky. He had 11 doctors behind him, and he came in because he knew I was there, and by then I had a reputation, and so they're coming down. He wanted to meet me, and so so he sits down, and I says, well, if you have a minute, I'll tell you what's going on. And so he said, I'll take the time. And so all these guys are standing around there, every word coming out of this guy's mouth, they hang on because he's like a god to them. And here I'm trying to lecture him on on what's going on. I said, no, I don't argue with it. Your numbers are correct or incorrect or whatever, but you're only looking at one element. The elements are as follows: physical, mental, emotional, psychological, and spiritual. And you're looking at the physical, and I don't argue with that. But the marathon and anything to push your body to the limits or beyond yourself incorporates all those other elements. And when the going really gets tough, like you're done, it's spirit. It's spirit. That's what takes you through. And, there have been races, and you asked what is the most satisfying or what is most difficult. I think that's one of the second question or third question. Not that I want to jump the gun, but there are times I'm in such tough races that I put myself there on purpose, because it is a form of courage. It is a form of bravery when you're a little anxious, when you don't know if you're going to make it. It's the spark that I need to drive myself. So that is something that might be one of my characteristics, but it's also a characteristic of everyone that is a major success. They didn't get there. They weren't born that way. They had to fail, and they had to learn from their failures, and they had to fall down, and they had to pick themselves up. They had to skin their knee. When they first rode a bike, it wasn't a bubble wrap society where I got to have a helmet, and I got to have knee pads, and I got to have elbow pads, and I have to have a bubble wrap. So I get on a bicycle so I can't get hurt. You want to get hurt. You want them to get hurt. That's the fastest way to learn, for sure. So that's part of my philosophy. When I get somebody in, and later on, I might have a team working with me, for me, and I'll challenge them. I'll put something out there, and we see what they do. I want to know what happens when they hit their head against the wall, and what are they made of, right? Anyway, that's leadership stuff, a little different from where we're going on this question. So we get to 1,000. I keep on going. I didn't think I was going to make 100. I made 100. And geez, am I going to keep going? Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Matt's still alive. Matt's still doing okay. And, I'm still pursuing it. And I'm using it. You say as a parent you want to teach. You're teaching your son or child. Now, you know that yourself, because you know what's happening in your family. And you know the feeling of helplessness sometimes. And oh, yeah, I did that right, or I didn't do that right. I could have done better, or whatever. And you say, well, I'm going to keep on going. He's driving me as much as I'm driving myself. And I'm looking at saying, I'm the teacher. I'm going to be a teacher. Well, maybe I'm a student. Maybe I'm learning from him how to handle and how to manage adversity as he gets older. He wanted to play. He wanted to have more fun. He wanted to be different. He wanted to go skiing. He wanted to go down the hill. He wanted to do certain things. So his life is intertwined with mine in the sense that he was motivational for me. And a very big part of it was that. Some of it was me, seeing if I could do it, the challenge of doing this or that. Can I do it? But that takes you so far, and then you realize, I almost need more than that. It's team, it's family, it's whatever, right? So that's kind of how it goes. They're the greats. And you look now, okay, so 1,000. I keep going, and Matthew's gone now. And I get ill, and I'm start carrying his ashes with me. to races, and I carry him to every race, and he's with me. I mean, I thought about quitting after he died, but I said, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to honor him in some way. I don't know quite how, but I will. So that's, again, the story beginning here, and I know it's a lot about Matt, but it's not all about it, but that's what's in my mind right now, so I can share it.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where I'm at 800. I says, oh my God, 800, holy shit, There aren't many around, and the air's pretty thin now, around here, there's not many people left. Nobody had made 1,000 except one person. He tried, Norm Frank tried, but he got a stroke, and he made it to 963, and that was the highest anybody had gone. And then, somewhere around my 800s or 700s, 600s, right in there somewhere, our first guy made it. And I knew him very well. We were running a lot of races together. And the guy from California, he made it, and outstanding. And then the second guy, they were competing with each other. He made it, but it was too early, and I still wasn't decided whether I was going to shoot for it or not, but it was always there, It turned out that just before I was going for it, there were only 3 that made it, and the guy that was 4th was coming on strong, the youngest guy, and he was coming on real strong, and I decided I was going to let him go. Wasn't going to compete in terms of it. I was a lot older than him. He was in his 40s, and I'm in my, late 60s. So let him go. And so 4 had done it, and I was lined up with nobody else around for number 5. And so we ended up being 5th. And it stayed that way, and nobody around for maybe from 850 on. But I didn't know if I was going to do it, so I got to 900, and I was really tired because I'm getting older. And I got to 819, 918, and I said, I'm going for it. So, and my goal was to get it in the middle of this year, 2020. But last year I was looking at the schedule, and I says, if I really crank it down, I might make it, in 1 year. I had to do about 80 marathons last year in order to do that. And I had to do it through the summer with heavy heat. And we had streaks, I don't know if you remember, of 95 degrees every day for like a week on the Northeast. And I was running in that every day. All of my peers, the number 1 guy, number 2 guy, number 3 guy, they quit. They decided they weren't going to run. Those days was too hot and too much. And I said, if I am worthy of this, I can do anything. So I pushed myself to run every single day, and like 6 in a row, all through that. And it was so hot and humid, you couldn't even get outside. You can't even breathe. Your glasses steam up. It's really, really pretty rough. So that was part of the challenge again. Not only doing that many, but I wanted to do hard ones. I did Hot Hilly Harry 50K. It's the 5 kilometer cross country championship course in Wisconsin, all hills, and did that one in the summer, and it was 80-something degrees there. Brutal thing. So I had a lot of ultras mixed in with that. So I made it hard on myself, and I made it, but damn near killed me. And so I took a rest. I made it on December 28th. I was in the middle of doing Savage 7, which I co-founded with Chuck Savage. And I named it that because I was responsible for the name of it because it's perfect. It's a double entendre. His name was Savage, so I call it Savage 7.
Yeah.
And of course he loved that idea. and he forgot that he forgot over the years that we co-founded it because I didn't take it. I had to remind him, hey, we did co-found this together. You didn't want to do it unless I was going to do it, with you. And I reminded him, oh yeah, that's right. So it's interesting, but he's up in his 80s now, so I give him a little breathing room. But I think it's one of the best things I ever did was, in looking back, is starting Savage 7 because it was the first time in the world that there was any event that was 7 marathons in 7 consecutive days. And the idea that I had, and a lot of this has been lost in the shuffle, was that it's by runners, for runners. All money was to be donated to charity or to give back to runners. There was no financial gain of any kind for any of us, and it was to set it up so that we're not going to run it for you, but we're going to give you the time you need, we're going to give you the food you need, we're going to give you the support you need, but we're not going to do it. You've got to do it. And at that time, the first time we had it, there were 13 starters for the first year we did it in 2010. And we got to day 3 or day 4. We opened it up to the elites, and I think about 4 or 5 of those were Europeans that came over, from one from Norway and England and so on. And then there weren't enough people, so we opened it up to non-elites, so anybody who wanted to do it. And well, we got 13 people nipping at it, and and Chuck said he's not going to do it. When he first talked to me on the phone about the concept, not going to do it unless I run it. And I says, well, I'm no elite, and he says, well, let me decide that. He says, so we're there on day 4. It's a real cold morning. I'm in the car. He walks up, knocks on my door, and this is Chuck Savage. And he says, I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't go today. I'm just, my heart's fluttering, and I just wiped out. My feet are messed up, and everything's messed up. I says, well, I get out of the car, I give him a hug, I say, you know what? Don't ever apologize to me for that. You're the only one with any brains around here. I says, and certainly, you know your body better than anybody, and this is like no man's land here, and don't worry about it. And he looks at me, he says, there's only one person in this entire field that I'm positive is going to make all 7. He looks at me, and I says, well, I look behind him. You're talking about them? And I said, no, it's you, Frank. You're going to make all 7. I said, holy shit, I don't know. I don't know about it. He says, you're going to make all 7. So he was positive. And I did. I was one of the first. There were 5 out of the 13 that made all 7. Anyway, it's a part of it is just drive and will, and you're not going to quit no matter what, unless you fall down, and you can't get up. So that's the first question. The second one had to do with what? Most challenging, rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. So most challenging.
I kind of talked about that. Yeah, I talked about the idea, and in fact, I didn't even look at my notes at all here. Okay. I wrote down the realization that there's a love of life in here somewhere. This is what I wrote in my notes. The most challenging and the most rewarding. And I have challenging boundaries. The idea that you have boundaries, and they're self-imposed almost always, or someone tells you, but they're not yours, and that you ought to challenge those. And so that's part of my psyche, is that, and the psyche of a warrior. He's not going to quit. I mean, there's a challenge there if you were him, so to me, love of life and celebration of life and living is one of the rewards of this, of challenging your boundaries and realizing that you can go beyond what you ever thought you could ever do, if you let yourself. And if you give yourself that chance, and you don't put those unexpected or self-imposed roadblocks in front of yourself, you don't have to do that. You can honor yourself. You can make the most of living, and you can celebrate life in this process. Back to some of the advice issue. I had a note here: dedicate yourself to a higher. I can't even read my writing. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's the concept. Dedicate yourself to a higher calling. Like you have to love. You have to love others. You have to love your family, your team, your school. your workmates, your country. So you dedicate yourself to a high calling, and then you dedicate yourself to excellence in everything you do, excellence. And 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 then I had something that's really at another dimension. You take on the suffering of others. Um, it's a very deep concept. It's a concept of Buddhism, where a bodhisattva, does that. I'll tie it real quick into something. Um, when I'm at the starting line of Pikes Peak, right,
Mm-hmm.
I think about the concept of suffering, and I know I'm going to suffer. There's no question about it. I can't breathe. I'm going to be maxed out on my breathing. I'm going to be maxed out on my heart rate. I don't know if I'm going to make it. It says, but it doesn't matter because there is a God, and there's a law of thermodynamics that says that there's conservation of energy. Now, if you have a closed system and there's a hot body and a cold body, and heat moves from the hot to the cold, or leaves the cold body into a hotter body, the net is the same. There's conservation, within that closed system. Do you follow that? That's a law of thermodynamics. Do you follow that?
I do.
All right. So now, why can't that work for suffering? Why can't, so I'm thinking about this, and why can't, if someone can take on some suffering of another person and relieve that burden from the other person, because he's strong, he can take it. And I want to do that. I want to take this from that person to relieve that suffering from them and put the burden on me. So in my case, I had Matthew, and I'm talking to God, and I'm saying, okay, here's what I want. I want you to let me have it, Just let me really have it. But would you do something for me? Just make it easy for him today. Let him breathe today. You get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where my mind
powerful.
was. Yeah, that's where my mind was, and it was a giving. It was a mindset of helping someone else, right? So I would say that wherever you are in your development, just think about terms of everybody's pretty much the same. Everybody just wants respect as an MP. And, you're going to be in cases where, as an MP, I don't know, that's kind of a ball out of left field. But, I think people just want respect, even people that don't respect you. I think if you got to a point where you could find some commonness, because they're still humans. You don't treat them like an object, or and they might not swing the fist at your face. I mean, they might not. They might still do that. In which case, you have to take action immediately and demand the authority that you have. But I don't know. I guess nothing else comes to mind other than that. But in terms of taking on, in a sense, empathizing with the person that you're trying to enforce.
Yeah.
Maybe say, I understand what you're thinking, but that's not the way it works. Maybe that's not following the rules. And we have to follow the rules, and you have to understand that my job is to enforce the rules. It has nothing personal between you and me, but it has to do with me and my job, and it has to do with you and you breaking the rules. Something like that. Okay, would be along the line of being respectful of that person and not making it personal. It's not you against me or me against you. I don't want it to come to that. If it has to come to that, you're going to be on the short end of the stick. But I hope you choose a different course, right? You have a lot of other courses to choose than the wrong one. Just think about it.
Yeah.
Don't act right away. Don't react. I'm not here to try to belittle you in any way, but at the same time, I have a job to do. something
Yeah.
like that.
So,
I think.
so if I'm taking from what you're saying correctly, it's respect yourself, respect other people, set
Yes.
clear boundaries,
Yes.
and really be able to
Set clear boundaries. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in personal development, you can work on the things like give yourself challenges and so on. I've always tried to do that. All kinds of things. One thing popped in my head right away was nobody wanted to take this class, even like it was not that I'm a Bible study guy, a Bible thumper, I'm not. But when Matthew was growing up and she was Lutheran and I'm Catholic, I said, I don't care. I'm not really Catholic anyway. In fact, I'm not even religious anyway because I'd like to say I'm beyond that, but I'm not. I'm not. There is a God. There is a lot of things. It's just not in a formalized way. So, So at that time, nobody wanted the 7th grade class, and I did. I want that. I want all the problem people that everybody has a problem with. I want it because that's a challenge for me. So it turns out I turned the whole thing around, and the pastor comes over and says, "What the hell are you doing?" Because the parents are saying, my kid never would hate coming, and now they can't wait. They're talking about all the stuff. Well, it's just thinking outside the box, taking science and the spiritual aspects and bringing them together, is what I thought I was called to do. So I said right away, the first day of class, I said, I don't even know why I'm here. I think I know why I'm here, but let me just tell you, never did this before. I probably don't even know the subject matter as well as you guys do, but I'm here for a reason. And maybe that will become apparent to both of us as time goes on, and so that's how I started talking to him, and there's no right or wrong. I said, we have this lesson plan here, and I think it was like for 5th graders or 2nd graders or something, and we're in 7th grade, and I went to these guys and said, you got to throw this whole thing out. This is not where they are, and when something would happen in class and somebody gets a quick laugh at somebody else's expense, like sticks a dagger in their back, I stop everything, close the book. That's it. That's going to be my lesson plan. I'm going to talk about friendship, the value of friendship in life. That's what I'm going to talk about. So I just do a whole thing on it. That's what would guide me as to what I would do in that class. Yeah. So isn't that interesting? Forget the stupid stuff they're talking about. These kids need to learn about that. And then they had questions, they were open up with me. Well, what about this? They want to ask me sex information here. Well, here's one more thing. Here's one more concept. I just want to put this down while it's going.
Please.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
Realize that in your journey through life, there's some injustice, right? It's not always a just world, But I wouldn't let that deter me. I wouldn't let you be deterred by that. It's easy to be deterred by that, but don't let it. Stay on your path. Stay on your path. And I sort of alluded to this earlier. Be a beacon of light to those around you. You don't have to, succumb to some of the stimulation that surrounds you. You can rise above that. You can transcend that. And then if you do that, then let the chips fall where they may. And don't seek recognition. At the same time, don't shy from it. Just try to be honest in everything you do and seek the responsibility if you feel capable of doing it, and give credit to those that help you along the way. So those are just general things that any person, well, not all. I mean, in fact, very few do this, but I do, and I've gotten rewarded for it tenfold. Not at the moment, but it happens later. It happens later when I cross the street going to the library 10 years later, and a guy sees me and he says, "Oh my God, you were the end of an era. You were the guy. You couldn't be bought. You had integrity." That's when it comes back, and it may never come back. And if it does, that's okay, because it's between you and the God upstairs. That's not gonna. You don't have to be pat on the back every 5 minutes. So, all right.
If I can
chew on that.
One thing,
yes,
I think because this has been great, and I'm so appreciative that you took the time for myself and for the people who will be able to be reached by some of the really huge messages that you shared. I just want to tell you that when I set out on my very small little journey, right, of this 30 days of those bodyweight exercises and the 10Ks, it felt like it was a big deal, and in some ways it kind of was, right? Because I challenged myself to do something
it absolutely was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I look at it, many of us, at times we'll look at what another person has done, and we'll, try to measure ourselves against that, right? So, I did, 30 days of 10K. Does that really matter? Because my uncle, the ultra marathoner,
yes, it does matter
in the country, I just wanted to share with you that you inspired me, and I appreciate.
Well,
that.
I would like to. I would like to. That's the right attitude. That's the right approach.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't want to disinspire you, if that's a word. I wouldn't want to go the other way. Oh my God, I just destroyed a guy. No, the whole point is, everybody's got their journey. Everybody's got their walk. And, you have to, like anything else, it's not baby steps, then you take a step, then you start to shuffle, then you start to run, then you start to jog, then you start to run. I mean, it's not just that. It's that look at where you started and look what you've done, and give yourself some kudos for that. It's like it's so hard to take that first step. That's why when you said the 1,000, I started at 1. I started at the first one, because that's what it is. It's the first one. And you can't go to this 1,000 until you did the first one. The second one, you fell down, you banged your head, you skinned your knee, and then you decided to keep going. But you don't have to keep going. You're not any less of a person if you choose not to. As long as you keep those other elements, challenge yourself. Keep, in terms of, and I don't want to get on a soapbox because I'm not a preacher, but I'm just saying, it's the case of growth in life. I believe that if there's a higher power, he's smiling at the person that's trying to develop and trying to grow all the time, and isn't so full of himself that he thinks he knows all the answers to everything. I think that's the approach, and it's taken me a lot of years to come to that. And even the point of continue to grow and to be able to articulate some of this stuff. Some people might have this jumbled around in their head, or be too lazy to think about it, and will go through life and see their whole world as what is my next meal, or what is my next TV program or something. I tend to like to reflect. I tend to think about the gratitude of being able to have insight into something, and the humility to ask, if I'm in a new area, to ask others that have some insight that I don't have, that it might make my journey more have more richness to it. It's not that it's going to be easier necessarily, but you'll realize that it wasn't quite as simple as I thought. Maybe there's more complexity to it and more opportunity. It's more, I was thinking about writing essays for a book, and I've thought about the concept of, some of these concepts, being put in there and embellished by a story of some kind. There's so many of them. I mean, I know that one of the top runners from Japan, he's a Buddhist, and I talked to him about the idea of the suffering and taking on the suffering of others, and that's what I was doing at the starting line. He stops in the middle of the race, looks at me, bows, and says, "You're a Bodhi." And I said, "No, I'm not there's only one Bodhisattva in the Buddha." He said, "No, not in our sect. A Bodhi is one that does that and actually feels that way." And I actually did feel that way. And I came up with that individually. I didn't know anything about the Buddhist tradition, but he told me about it, and he was just honored, and he bowed to me, and he says, "I'm a very holy man." And I says, "Oh, geez, it's embarrassing me in a way. I'm almost turning red." He says, "I know you are, because I am also." And so interesting. See, I've had a lot of these things, and it's just by thinking, and you're going through this journey, and it's nice every once in a while to think about it,
Yeah. One adventure.
Think about what's happening and putting it in context. As you raise your family is the most important thing right now, and honor your wife and raise your little kiddies,
Of course.
and try to teach them the right way, Okay, Angelo, it was great talking to you. You hang in there, and then something might come to mind, and you want some clarification, or you're full of shit or something, and if that happens, give me a call, okay?
Well, I'll be sure to share with you these products as we're getting stuff together, so you can take a look at it. But no, I'm super appreciative, Frank. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I look forward to talking. I look forward to talking to you.
Yeah,
soon,
take care. I have a little bit of experience. I have had the honor of being a keynote speaker at a marathon, and then my other people want me to go on as motivational speaker for things. I could probably do some of that stuff. I don't know, but I have no drive to do that right now. So I don't know until something else happens. All right, buddy, you take care.